Brandon and Rachel had received a notification for an episode of Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends so cursed that anyone who watched it was never quite the same. After months of online sleuthing and more than one sketchy back-alley meetup, they finally got their hands on the tape. It looked ancient, like something dredged up from the bottom of a haunted lake. The label was half-torn, and the plastic casing was crusted over with something that looked alarmingly like dried blood, or maybe rust. Either way, it reeked of bad vibes. Back at Brandon's place, we gathered around the battered VCR, the air heavy with anticipation and a weird sense of dread. As soon as the tape clicked into place, a storm erupted outside. Thunder shook the house so hard the windows rattled, and each lightning flash painted the room in stark, manic white. It was as if the universe itself was warning us, turn back now. But we didn't. We pressed play. The screen flickered, then warped, the familiar Foster's theme song distorted into something slow and off-key. Suddenly, reality seemed to tilt on its axis. The world spun around us, colors bleeding together, and then, just like that, we were inside the cartoon. The hallways of Foster's home stretched before us, but everything was wrong. The silence was suffocating, a heavy blanket that pressed down on our chests. We'd dealt with haunted games and cursed cartoons before, so maybe we should have been more shocked, but honestly, it was just par for the course at this point. I briefly wondered if my robotic dog Goddard could have helped us break in, but the thought passed as quickly as it came. We had bigger problems. The Foster home was a disaster zone. Furniture was overturned, glass crunched under our feet, and garbage was heaped in the corners. More disturbing were the splatters of blood smeared along the walls, glistening in the flickering cartoon light. But the worst part by far were the eyes, human eyes, not the exaggerated, friendly orbs of animation. They stared at us from the shadows, unblinking, accusing, as if trying to warn us away or pull us in. Rachel's voice was barely a whisper. "Where is everyone?" Her words hung in the air, swallowed up by that unnatural silence. We wandered deeper into the home, each step making the place feel more labyrinthine, like it was expanding and changing just to trap us inside. The air was thick with dust and the faint scent of something metallic. Suddenly, a long, mournful moan echoed from somewhere down a hallway that seemed to stretch out forever, twisting and spinning like a roller coaster track designed by a madman. The floor seemed to ripple beneath us, and Rachel staggered, clutching her stomach. "I think I'm going to be sick," she gasped. "Almost there," Brandon said, his voice strained but determined. It felt like the hallway would never end, but finally, we reached the door at the far end. The room was empty, save for dust motes dancing in a shaft of sickly light. Relief almost washed over us, until a tremendous crash shattered the silence from somewhere nearby. We sprinted toward the sound, adrenaline drowning out our fear. Suddenly, the floorboards gave way beneath Rachel. For a terrifying second, she disappeared from sight, but Brandon lunged and caught her by the wrist, hauling her back up just in time. Her face was white, hands shaking. "Close call," Brandon said, trying to sound braver than he felt. Rachel stared at him, her eyes wide and haunted. We pushed on, creeping into the next room, our nerves stretched to the breaking point. That's when a body, an actual human body, not a cartoon, dropped from the ceiling, landing with a sickening thud right in front of us. Rachel screamed, the sound echoing like a warning siren. The corpse looked like a real person, someone who might have worked on the show, their face twisted in an expression of pure terror. We forced ourselves to step around the body, hearts pounding. That's when a strange, off-key whistling started up, drifting through the hallways, growing louder with every step we took. It was a child's tune, almost familiar, but warped and wrong, as if it had been corrupted by whatever darkness held this place. "Let's hope this hallway isn't like the last one," Rachel muttered, pressing her hand over her mouth. Thankfully, it was short and, miraculously, normal. For a moment, we could almost pretend we were somewhere safe. At the end of the hallway, I opened the next door and there, impossibly, was Brandon's imaginary friend, Uncle Magnetti. He was sitting at a desk in the center of the room, looking completely out of place in the chaos. "What took you so long?" Uncle Magnetti said, his voice calm and familiar. Brandon wasted no time. What happened here? Uncle Magnetti's face fell. It was SpongeBob, he said quietly. He came here and erased everyone. He hates imagination, hates the idea that anyone could change his world, rewrite his story. He wants to be the only one in control. He slid a yellow VHS tape across the desk to me. This tape leads to SpongeBob's world, but you'll need a special device to use it. His body began to fade, the lines of his form breaking apart like static, but his voice lingered. Good luck. The next thing we knew, we were crawling out of the TV, gasping for air like we'd been underwater for hours. Goddard was barking furiously, his digital tail wagging in frantic circles. Rachel collapsed onto the floor, sobbing uncontrollably. I can't take this anymore, she choked out between tears. Seeing what that twisted sponge did to everyone we loved. Her words dissolved into another fit of sobs. I tucked the yellow tape away, determined to keep it from falling into the wrong hands. Brandon knelt next to Rachel, his expression grim but resolute. Don't worry, he said, his voice steady. We're not letting this go. We're going to find SpongeBob, and we'll make sure he pays for what he's done. The storm outside still raged, but inside, a new kind of resolve began to build. We'd survived haunted media before, but this time, it felt personal. Now, it wasn't just about escaping, it was about fighting back, about restoring what had been lost, and making sure no one else ever had to face the darkness that lurked behind the screen.